Alright, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim and Assalamualaikum. My name is Wan Aina Nabila binti Wan Muhammad Hamdi, and today I will present on my final year project, text sentiment analysis using hybrid sentiment bearing words lexicon. Before I start, I would like to thank my supervisor, Professor Dr. Azlina, for guiding me through finishing this project. This presentation is divided into 8 parts from introduction until result and findings. To start off, sentiment analysis is a classification of opinion using text analysis techniques and are divided into 2 approaches, machine learning and lexicon based. It has 3 levels, which are sentence level, document level, and aspect level. And because success of product depends a lot on sentiment analysis, the study on product review has increasing and become important to determine opinions of customers. In this study, the focus will be on lexicon-based approach on document level and sentence level using Amazon product review dataset. The problem is divided into 2 by its method and its domain. The first one is noisy data in lexicon can cause uncertainty in sentiment classification performance. Second one is limited work was done on WKWSCI lexicon as there only one research was done. And the third one is huge data make it hard to analyze the sentiment of product review. The objective is that the first one is to investigate sentiment bearing words lexicon approach for text sentiment analysis. Second, to perform sentiment analysis based on hybrid sentiment bearing words lexicon with WKWSI lexicon. And the third one is to evaluate the performance of hybrid sentiment bearing words lexicon against the baseline approach. This project will cover on WKWSCI lexicon and its baseline, which is anti-wordnet, on document and sentence level. The constraint would be limited word coverage for lexicon corpus, and it would be difficult to recognize multi-word terms, and the dataset that will be used in this study is Amazon product review dataset. The study will provide an insight to the academician, especially on the differences of lexicon on product review. And in business perspective, product review sentiment analysis may help them to identify their customer opinion on the product. Okay, next, the literature review. Literature review is divided into 4 categories, and from domain perspective, we have a product review, and from method perspective, there are machine learning and lexicon-based sentiment analysis. This is some of the literature review from related paper, but I will explain only one of the related paper. The first one is about comparison of machine learning and lexicon-based sentiment analysis on review dataset. The author conclude that WKWSCI, MPQA, Hu and Liu, and SOCA lexicon are equally good for product review sentiment categorization with rates of 75% to 77%. Next, we move to the research methodology. These are the phases involved in research methodology method. For each phase, I map with its objective, like to achieve this objective, what phase it will involve. The first one is problem formulation. Problem formulation is an activity to identify the problem by having a consultation with supervisor. The deliverable is already done as we discussed in problem statement before. Second one is knowledge acquisition. It is a phase where we search everything related to our study, and also the deliverable is already mentioned in literature review part. The third one is data collection. Data will be collected either primary or secondary data. But in this study, we use secondary data, which downloaded from registry of open data on Amazon Web Services. The detail about this data is as shown. The data is a review from 1st November 2015 until 1st November of 2019. The review is a multilingual dataset that have English, Japanese, German, French, Chinese, and Spanish review, but I only use the English one. There are 20% of data for each star as the star rating from 1 until 5, meaning that if there are 5,000 data, 1,000 data are for star 1. It contains 8 columns and 205,000 rows, but in this study, we only use 1,000 data only with equally distributed data and 2 columns. And as we didn't consider taking neutral review, review with star 3 are removed, leaving only 800 review only left. And this is the example of the full data set, and below is the one that will be used in the study with only 2 columns, review body and star. And next, after data collection, now we have to pre-process the data before using them. The process involved in this phase is removing noisy data, lemmatization, and tokenization using NLP method in Python to produce a clean data set. The pre-processing phase is divided into two parts because we have a document and sentence level. For general pre-processing, the process involved include removing other columns except review body and star as shown before. General pre-processing is done as shown before splitting the dataset into two other datasets. And for document level, the dataset that undergo general pre-processing can proceed by removing punctuation and tokenize it by word. But different from sentence level, the review will be tokenized first into sentence, and for each sentence, new row are created, and only after that it will be tokenized into word. And this is the example of data set for document level. The red circle represent the example of general pre-processing method where special characters are removed from the review, while yellow rectangle represent example of stop word removal. And from the example of document review, each of the sentence are divided into different rows as shown in the yellow box. Thus, this is the example of the clean dataset. Next, we move on to empirical research method. The deliverable of this phase will be a labeled dataset with its sentiment score. There are two general purpose lexicon that will be used, one WKWSCI and Who and Liu. As for WKWSCI, there are two methods that will be choose which one to use for hybrid with Who and Liu. First, this is the flow for sentiment classification using WKWSI lexicon. We will start with finding the word or review volume, assign the score to the word, calculate the overall review attitude, compute the final score, and tag with its polarity. And this is the example of data with its labeled score. Next, we have for Who and Liu, we only have one method. The flow is quite the same with sentiment classification using WKWSI lexicon, but the major difference is the formula when calculating the overall attitude of a review. And this is the labeled data and its score for Who and Liu lexicon. Next, we will develop a hybrid lexicon in the development phase, where there will be a new score for each review. There are two methods to hybrid where we're going to choose which one to use in the end. For the first one is word-based hybrid, and second one is score-based hybrid. For score-based hybrid, there are two experiments that are conducted called experiment 1 and experiment 2. Firstly, for word-based hybrid, the overview of this flow is basically we will score the word with WKWSI corpus. Then if the word doesn't exist, it will be scored using Who and Liu corpus. And if the word doesn't exist in both corpus, then the review are scored with 0 and 0 score are removed. This is the example of result for word-based hybrid. Next, we have score-based hybrid. Basically, score-based hybrid is finding the average of score between both general purpose lexicon. The difference for experiment 1 and experiment 2 is in experiment 2, we hybrid the score first and remove review with 0 hybrid score, while in experiment 1, we remove review with score 0 for sentiment using WKWSCI, Who and Liu, and hybrid. And this is the result for score-based hybrid for experiment 1 and experiment 2. And this is the last phase of research methodology where all the results are going to be analyzed and compared to prove whether hybrid lexicon increase the performance of sentiment classification or not. And documentation phase where a final report of this project are produced. So we move on to result and findings. The accuracy for WKWSCI and Who and Liu are shown in the table. For WKWSCI, the second method produced the best accuracy for both levels with 72% and 69% for document and sentence level respectively. So the second method is chosen to be hybrid with Who and Liu lexicon. And then for development of hybrid, the score-based hybrid for experiment 1 showed the highest accuracy for both levels with 76% for document level and 72% for sentence level. Thus, the score-based hybrid is chosen to be compared with our baseline approach, SentiWordNet. And this is the comparison table for general purpose lexicon and hybrid lexicon. It is shown here that hybrid lexicon produce the highest accuracy in sentiment classification compared to the general purpose lexicon and even the baseline lexicon. The comparison is also displayed in the bar chart form, where it is obviously that hybrid lexicon approved can increase the performance of sentiment classification compared to the normal lexicon. So I think that's all from me. Thank you.